And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of The Signal Caller. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas. And as always, I am podcasting at the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSP is my Twitter handle. Of course, Solo Lopez, the Solo Lopez on Twitter, X, if you will. We'll try to be as flawless as Tyrese Halliburton was tonight. No errors, no
No
errors, no
errors,
mistakes.
no turnovers.
Was he? If he was a shortstop, he had the highest fielding percentage in the league. Then no errors, no mistakes at all. So
30
great.
plus points, 15 plus assists, and 10 plus rebounds.
Kings,
And zero
Kings,
turnovers.
Kings, Kings,
My
Kings,
goodness.
Kings. What?
How's the bonus working out right now?
What it could be like to be a Kings fan right now.
Brutal, man.
I forgot. Did we talk about the tush push last episode?
The what?
Did we discuss the tush push getting kept last time?
No, I don't think we did.
Okay, so really quick on the tush push. Some people are against it. Some people are for it. My biggest thing with tush push is that, and we are Cardinals fans. We are previewing and talking about the Cardinals this episode. So Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., all the folks like that. So definitely stay tuned for that. But real quick, as far as the tush push goes, I think it's again, you have 3 downs to stop it, because then if they're not going to run this play when it's 3rd and 7. So so I don't see what the big deal is. The whole thing about quote unquote player safety, if player safety mattered in the National Football League, football will only be played on Sundays, period. And
it would not be played tackle football. It would be played with flags.
Yes, also would be like, they might have 2 or 3 buys during the season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to keep people healthy. So I'm not going to buy that foolishness. But your thoughts about it? I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it should be banned. But I mean,
yeah.
but like the point of like the rugby style play, that part of it is more of an argument than player safety to me.
Sure. Player safety, I'm with you on that. That doesn't matter to the NFL literally at all. They're trying to add yet another game to the regular season.
It'll be 18 games. It'll be 18 games soon.
They want 18 games. Like they don't give anything about player safety, but these players are well compensated, even from the top to the very bottom. They know what they're getting themselves into. It is a dangerous sport, obviously. But as far as the tush push, the Eagles have created a play where they are basically and virtually unstoppable at the goal line, inside the 5, on 3rd and 1, on 4th and 1, 4th and 2, even in that regard. And the only way, and they're the only team that is this successful at it. People have tried. The Bills tried it. The Ravens have tried it. I've seen the Chiefs try it. Teams try the tush push, right? They try it. They can't do it. They're not as good. So you're telling me that they've created an advantageous play for themselves and they're successful at it that you can replicate if you're good enough. Obviously, they're not going to give away your secret, but the secret. And it looks like the secret is their leverage that they're able to create every single time, even without Jason Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you stop it is to legislate it out the game. That, to me, is not a competitive thing that you need to legislate out of the game. Nothing to do with player safety. Nothing to do. It's strictly and purely advantageous for the Eagles because they do it better than anybody else. Nobody tried to legislate the deep ball from Patrick Mahomes to Tyreek Hill out of the game, but it turns out they did it better than anybody in the entire NFL. You know what I mean? So it's like you get a situation where they're better than you at it. Sometimes you can legislate stuff like that out of the game. Sometimes you can't. In this circumstance, you just can't. It shouldn't be legislated out of the game. You should be able to stop it. The famous quote from Bill Belichick when they went up 63-0 to the Tennessee Titans or whatever it was, hey, if you want us to stop, you got to stop us. And that's what it is. Nobody legislates points out of the game on a blowout. Nobody says the game needs to end when it's 63 or 65-0 in certain football games. So they're not legislating that out of the game for 60-point losses. So it is what it is. Like, stop them. If you want to stop them on the field. Don't stop them in court. That's crap. That's not football.
That's not football. And it's also, like I said, you got 3 downs. Don't make it short yardage.
You got 3 downs.
You got 3 downs. The SEC is now threatening to leave the NCAA. We saw that today. It is they're threatening to do it in 2028. I was talking to Ryan over text about this, and he says he thinks it's going to be like, as far as like it'd be very, very difficult to do when you consider it's we can't do it for all sports. So that's going to be you can blow up your entire athletic program just to do this. That's number one. Number two is it's probably just a factor where they're trying to add some teams to the college football playoff. Right now it's 12. They want to make sure they're in the SEC is
They want Alabama back in there.
they want Alabama back in there, but maybe Alabama has to do what most teams do to make a playoff: win games and earn it.
Win? Isn't that win?
Yeah,
W-I-N?
win games and earn it. So we have that. College football.
And this is not West Coast bias either. Just win games.
This is just win games. This is win games. I mean, seriously, like F and you too. Go win games.
Go win games.
And then college football 25 was a huge success, obviously. And now college football 26 is coming out with Ryan Williams from Alabama and Jeremiah Smith on the cover.
I didn't know that. That's nice.
They're on the cover, and then you have
they're the two young best stars in the college football right now. There's no question about that.
I mean, Ryan Williams was almost like 16. He was 17, just turned 17, turning up college football. So you have that. The Favre documentary on Netflix is only an hour. I would say it is an hour worth your time. Not because it's I'm not a Favre fan, but I do think there's a lot of football stuff in it, and I think it's not just a Favre hit piece. It is they talk to people who are deep within the Packers, like they've been covering Packers for a long time. So it's not like a bunch of outside folks doing it. For Raider fans, I would definitely. It's nice to hear Ron Wolf talk football.
Love Ron Wolf.
Like Ron Wolf, dude. Ron Wolf. If I could sit down with, he's one of the top 5 executives that I would sit down with in my lifetime to just sit down and just talk football and team building with. I love me some Ron Wolf. So if you're a Raider fan, I guess he was the first great Raider to lose. We lost for the Raiders to go to Green Bay, not Charles Woodson or Josh Jacobs. But he was a great executive. And you definitely want to hear what he has to say in this.
Yeah,
because he talks about how they got Favre and everything like that. So, good job by him being in it. Aaron Rodgers is still, he's hanging out with Joe. We don't know if he's coming or not. I did hear some things where, like, I did see the other day, I guess the OTAs in Atlanta, there was no Kyle Pitts and there was no Kirk Cousins. So I don't think Pitts is going to be. I don't think Pitts is really. I don't know if Pitts is going to be on his way out, but I do think Cousins wants to go play somewhere. He doesn't want to sit. So we'll see what happens as far.
Good luck trading that deal.
Well, it's only 1 year. Because it's only 1 year of guaranteed there, so we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens there. All right, that's around football real quick, and then now we can talk about the Arizona Cardinals. Here are the 2025 Arizona Cardinals. All right, so the Cardinals. Let's just talk about them real quick. So here we go. We got the graphic up now. Team spending. They got on the quarterback position. They got 19.1%, 6% on running back. They are getting the best deal in football because I know you and I both love. Oh my God, why can't I remember his name now? Something about baseball. They're running back for the
James Conner.
James Conner. He's very productive. Mm-hmm. Always comes through for them.
I think he's outplayed every contract he's ever had for any team ever, even going back to Pittsburgh. He just feels like he's outplayed all that money.
He's phenomenal. I love watching him play. They as far as tight ends and wide receivers goes, their spending is at 13.3%. Defensive line, 35.5%. Linebacker is 1.1%. Secondary is 20.3%. and special teams is 1.5%. Shout out to AJ Cole for getting a new deal with the Raiders.
Yes, sir.
They finished in third place last year at 8-9. And their last playoff victory was January 16th, in the 2016
Mm.
against the Packers. 20 I believe that was 2015. So it was a while back for them. Sorry,
Was that the
2016.
51-44 game
I
against
think
Aaron
they
Rodgers?
I think they won that game 26-20.
Oh, okay. So I'm thinking of a different game then.
They won 26-20. Their GM is Monty Ossenfort. Their head coach is Jonathan Gannon. Drew Hensing is their offensive coordinator. Nick Rallis is their defensive coordinator, and Jeff Rogers is their special teams coach. They are a team that 50% of the time they will run 11 personnel. They also run a 3-4. And I think that's pretty much the kind of the quick background of the Arizona Cardinals as far as that goes. Let's start off with the Cardinals here, and I think just an overview real quick before we go to the free agency and the draft. This is Kyler Murray's team. Like,
Yeah.
he is ridiculously talented. He's one of the most talented players in all of the NFL, National Football League. When he was in college, he was absolutely ridiculous. As far as that goes, we feel and this is the part of that we don't know, like, is Kyler Murray a guy who can do what it takes to lead a team to on deep playoff runs, because the talent is there. The talent is there, where, I mean, like, maybe the team is not like perfect, whatever, but, like, the talent is there for him to, like, be a guy who can will a team to win 10, 11 games in a season. Solo.
Well, they got very lucky in terms of three teams ahead of them 2 years ago in the draft. Absolutely needed quarterbacks. So they got arguably what was considered one of, if not the second best player in, or the best skill position player in the draft, in Marvin Harrison, to fall to them at 4.
Uh-huh.
You had Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams all go ahead of them in that, and it allowed Arizona to not have to worry about a quarterback because they had already locked up Kyler Murray to this, and add the best skill position player in the draft. Now, he did not have the best rookie year out of the guys that come in. In fact, you could make the argument he didn't even have the second or third best rookie year for wide receivers that had come out, with guys like Brian Thomas Jr. and going to Jacksonville, and Malik Neighbors going to the Giants, right? So I think that's a big question on Kyler Murray. I really do believe that this is Kyler Murray's make or break year. You have to show that that the team is good enough to stop hovering around 7, 8, and 9 wins with you. If you're going to be the guy and the guy that's making all that money, I think this is the make or break year, because next year in 2026, the dead cap drops from 98 million to 57 million. And as we've seen over the last few years, teams are willing to cut guys and trade guys with that 40 to 50 to 60 million dollar cap situation, dead cap on there, and make it work ways to spread it over, several years to try to cut that number down. Now there's a club option, it looks like, in 2028. And then he's an unrestricted free agent in 2029. But I think this is the year where they can't cut him, they can't trade him, they can't do anything because it's too much money. That he's going to need to prove that he can be the star franchise quarterback for them. The talent's there, the health is not there, and I think that's been one of the biggest steals. This was a 5-year, $230 million contract. And they have not, I would argue, not gotten their return on investment after drafting him number 1 overall, and sending Josh Rosen, out to the pasture, back in 2022. So I think it's really important that he has a much better year this year than he has. I think he needs a career year. Arizona needs to be a winning team, and challenge for a playoff win in this regard, for Arizona and the brass over there to really think that they have the right guy in charge here. He's a very talented player. He's got great legs in order to be able to scramble the way you need to be and be mobile.
A tremendous arm. A tremendous arm.
And a fantastic arm. It's like he's got all of that. He's got all the ability and the skill set to be able to be good. So I think it's a make or break year for him. I think this is a huge question mark here for him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, and I mean, this is really the opportunity for him to really kind of. I mean, this is another year in the team system. They got weapons. So let's take a peek at who they got in free agency. Some of the one of the biggest names will be Dalvin Tomlinson, a 2-year deal, defensive end.
Hmm.
Akeem Davis Gunther is going to be the linebacker. Josh Sweat, um, defensive end. LJ Collier, and then you got Jacoby Brissett as their backup
Yeah,
quarterback for them. Zay Jones, former Raider, former Jaguar, is there as
former
well.
everybody.
Former everybody. Hey. He came out of East Carolina. Stay in the league as long as you can, Zay.
Yes, sir.
Stay as
Yes,
long as
sir.
you can, brother. Stay as long as you can. And then Evan Brown as a guard there for them on a 2 year
Heavy,
deal.
heavy, heavy in the trenches this offseason for the Cardinals.
Yeah,
Everything was in the trenches. Seems like
yeah,
all the
it's
money, all the draft
exactly.
pick, like the premium draft picks, felt like everything was in the trenches.
Yeah, so we talked about the free agency, and I mean, I think I've actually Sweat can make some noise for them. Also, Tomlinson can make some give him some depth there as well. As far as the draft goes, I kind of listen. Like they had a theme for it, and I do like what I did. I do like what I've seen. So I think here, when you look at number one pick, 16th overall, Walter Nolan, um, from Ole Miss, they get him, and then you get him in this defense, and they happen to have probably like one guy who you would love to have any rookie young player mentor under or be in a locker
Mr.
room with
Campbell, Mr. Campbell.
is Calais Campbell.
Yeah,
Calais Campbell's one of the. I hope Calais Campbell plays until he's 60. Like
yeah.
he's a fun player. He's productive. He's a great locker room guy. And he's definitely going to help Walter Nolan. Um, become what he can become in National Football League. I think Walter Nolan is a very talented player. He's
He is a
a
great talent.
tremendous
Yeah.
player. Quick twitch, can get to the quarterback, all those things like that. I think the second round pick, is going to be the key to this entire draft.
X Factor. Yeah.
If Will Johnson dropped, Will Johnson was going to be a guy, solo, what we thought was going to be, in the at one point being a top 10, and
Yeah. A lot of people thought top 10.
he ends up going in the second round. Your
Yeah.
thoughts about Will Johnson?
That is one of those moves that it looks like if that guy's medical report's clear, and he ends up not being an injury prone type player, because that's the rumor is that the medicals is what scared people away from Will Johnson. Now, this is even the day of the draft. People were still mocking Will Johnson in the top 10,
Yep.
including me. And so, in this regard, when you have a 6'2", 205-pound player that is that good in college, that was that, I would say, game changing for his college team, aside from the injuries. And he falls that far to you in the second round, and you get an absolute stud and a star in the first round, who I think Walter Nolan is going to be excellent. In that regard, you take a chance and take a flyer on Will Johnson. I think they protected themselves by taking two other defensive backs in this draft, in Denzel Burke from Ohio State and then Katan Crawford, the safety from Nevada. So they protected themselves in the secondary for that, in case Will Johnson's health doesn't hold up. But if it does, and his skills translate to the NFL, you're looking at that pick as one of the absolute steals of the last few draft that we've had. Because if he plays at an all caliber level, because his skill set was so good in college to do that, and the only thing that really caused him to fall are his injuries to his knees. If that's the case, I mean, they got Walter Nolan, Will Johnson to add to Josh Sweat and the team that they already have on that round now, and they've insulated even more defensive players on that draft. I mean, they took they took all of their picks were in this draft. It looks like were defensive players, except for Hayden Connor, the offensive lineman. So they clearly had a need, they had a plan and an agenda this offseason, and it was to load up as many players as they can, spend as much money in premium assets into the defense as well. So they're going to insulate a lot of these young guys with the money that they spent in the offseason, as well as the talent they already have on board now. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting offseason. They clearly had a plan. They felt that their offense was good enough with Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, Kyler Murray, James Conner, Trey Benson. Like they thought that these guys were set. Now they had to aggressively attack the defensive side. So I think Will Johnson is an X factor. He could be the steal of the last few drafts at that pick. Walter Nolan's a fantastic piece. I like Burke and Cody Simon. So I think it's interesting what they did. It was clearly they one-sided agenda, all defense, all trenches, all up front players to control the line of scrimmage and let Kyler Murray do what Kyler Murray does and lead this team. So I'm excited for their draft. I really want to see what Will Johnson does because he's going to come in the league with a massive chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, and I think that if you follow the Rams, right? The Rams did this. The Rams went out there and they made sure they got defensive linemen. They end up losing they lost a Hall of Famer, and they ended up picking up a bunch of guys in the
Yeah,
draft who can Verse comes in and just tears up the National Football League in year
yeah,
one. So they're hoping that maybe they can get that kind of production. They get that depth. You get that depth when you add a Birch to this, you add a Walter Nolan to this. They had Max Belkin, I think his last name was. Last year was he was drafted last year. Max Melton from Rutgers, I believe, was a corner last year, so they end up getting another corner this year, and Will Johnson, Cody Simon, who was spying the quarterbacks, Riley Leonard in the championship game, for Ohio State. He can move. He can do a lot of different things. So I'm really excited about his ability. I wanted, of course, our team doesn't draft linebackers.
ever.
Ever. So that and they added even more cornerback help with Denzel Burke. Like they really want to be like multiple and have some serious depth. This is a really listen, the Arizona Cardinals are not until they win, they're not necessarily a team that like people kind of like jump like talk about a lot
They
on
won't take them
TV.
seriously.
Don't
Yeah.
take them seriously, but they're always around like 7, 8 wins. But I think this is a year where they could be they could be a really good team. If or 3 or 4 of these guys come in and do a really good job, and you look at their offensive line, they solidify that the offensive line when they took Paris. They took Paris Johnson. They took Isaiah Adams last year in the draft. And so they got some young guys up there who can hold the pocket for Kyler. Kyler just got to kind of has to do his job. And I don't know. Like, do you buy into the whole, hey, his number as soon as the new Grand Theft Auto comes out, his numbers go down type deal.
No,
like
I don't. I
that.
don't
So
buy into that. I mean, maybe they're. I thought the first of all, I thought the Arizona Cardinals, um, when that report came out about the clause in the new extension, I
yeah,
thought that was a massive disservice to the player and the relationship between the player, the organization, and the player. I don't think that they intended for that to happen. For that in that regard, they probably weren't thinking clearly on that and didn't think that it would blow up as much as it did. They removed that clause out of his contract when it happened, which is kind of crazy that they even like went that route instead of just denying everything outright, which is probably what I would have done in that regard. And just said it's nobody's business what the contract stipulations are, except for the organization and the player. But no, I don't believe that. I think he's a dedicated player. I think more than anything, his health has been the biggest issue. I think his health late in seasons has been the primary issue for him to be successful and him to be successful with the Cardinals. And they gave him that contract when he was hurt, I believe. So he was hurt at the time and coming off an injury. But remember, during that season, he was well on his way to I think like 4,800 yards. They started, I think, 9-0 that year. In that with that team, that Cliff Kingsbury team. And they started off really hot and it didn't finish so well, and he got hurt down the stretch. But Kyler Murray has shown that he can play at this bit in this league at a high level, and so I don't. I think he's dedicated until we see like substantial evidence otherwise. Like if he's on an all-nighter on a live stream on Saturday night, the Sunday before a big game, then yeah, we can talk about it. But I think it's just stuff creates that snowballs into its own narrative and takes on its own form of legs, and then people start to be like, well, I can't believe he's undedicated because of that one article and that one clause they put in his contract. So I don't really
yeah,
believe that.
yeah,
They're good enough to be a playoff team this year. I think the offense is going to be good. I think I like their players. I like Zay Jones, Harrison, and I really like Michael Wilson. He's one of my
yes,
favorite underrated
me too,
players.
me
Like I
too.
think that guy's got basically everything you want in a receiver, in like a wide receiver 2 upside. with that regard.
Um,
And then Trey
Greg
McBride is unbelievable. So
Greg Dortch is a guy who's sneaky too as well. He makes some plays here and there as well too
I'll
for
be
them.
honest,
So
as a fantasy football player,
did you
a
grab him?
shark, I
Did
have
you grab
I have utterly given up on Dortch forever. So I will
him?
not give him praise ever again until he actually shows that he can play football consistently for 7 straight games,
Yes.
without getting hurt. So
I often heard people do, and I look at the quarterback room too, and I'm saying to myself, because like a lot of people who worked in the league, who have shows now, stuff like that, and they talk about Jacoby Brissett, and they say that if I ever wanted, they also say the same thing. If I ever wanted my daughter to marry a football player, it would be Jacoby Brissett.
yeah,
Because he's a hard worker.
just a really good locker room guy.
Real locker room guy. He studies, and he doesn't have the ability, obviously, of a Kyler Murray. But I think that having somebody in the locker room like that, that's they brought him in for a reason. I
Yeah,
mean, they brought
I
him.
think
They brought him in for a reason.
I'll be honest. This is Jacoby Brissett is an example of a guy that is literally getting by in the NFL on work ethic alone. Because I just don't
Yes.
think he's an NFL quarterback, even a backup. I don't think he's very good. I think the marker on his skill set probably ended 3-4 years ago.
Yep.
But because he's such a good locker room guy and he's such a good teammate and he's such a good probably film study, he's probably smart. He's probably going to go into coaching after his playing career goes ends.
I could 100%. I can see that.
Yeah, that's like all that's all we hear about the guy is that he's on a roster because he's earned it through hard work. He's the
Mm-hmm.
Rudy of the NFL, if you will. You know what I mean? With hard work, he gets out there and he stays in the league. He's showing the last time he tried to start games in lieu of a starter. He's just not that great, and I don't think he can do it at a quality basis. It's clear, but the fact that he's a good locker room guy, a good presence in your locker room. Look at Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell might be out of his physical prime. He's 38 years old. How many 38-year-old defensive linemen are still getting contract in the NFL? It's probably because he's really good in the locker room. He's a really good teammate. He works really hard, and he's really, really smart. And it's like he might not produce the way you want a guy to produce that if you're giving a guy a contract, but that's not his feat. That's not his function on your team. You're not asking Calais Campbell to get 10 sacks in the NFL. You're not asking Jacoby Brissett to go out there and win 7 straight games as a backup and throw for 15 touchdowns. You want a stable presence in your quarterback rooms, and he's it. And so there's no looking over your shoulder for that situation. He's got work ethic, he's got film study, he's got smarts and intelligence, he's got football IQ, and that's what you want in your team in that regard when you have a quarterback under the gun.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And I do think, looking at the schedule, look at picking at the schedule, they might be 2-2, but they do have an opportunity to be 3-1 after the first 4 games. If you were going to start your season off on the road, I think New Orleans would be a spot where you would one of the teams where you would pick to start your team off. I mean, I think if you're a defensive coordinator, if you're Nick Rallis this week, end of this year, I would think that you would want to start off with going up against Tyler Show and all those guys in New Orleans. Week 1. Then you come home to Carolina.
Even if it's on the road, yeah.
It's on the road, and then Carolina at home. Tough one there. Then you got at San Francisco. They play well in San Francisco. And then
you think the Carolina one is a tough one? You think Carolina has improved that much to be in line with Arizona, a healthy Arizona team?
I think so. Okay. I think last year, when I saw him really go toe to toe. I mean, I know it's a road game, not a home game, but when I saw him in his building go toe to toe with Mahomes, I really think he's not. I really think he's. I think this offseason we're gonna see a jump this year. I think Tet is going to be a factor for them, and I think the Cardinals could be one of those teams who make a little bit of a. I'm not talking about playoff jump, but a little bit of a jump where they get to 7-8 wins, and then the following year, 26. That's when they'll make when
a lot of those young guys start getting seasoned experience and they have it under the belt. They're not scared of the NFL anymore.
Exactly. And I don't see they were. I believe this team was also 10th in most miles traveled in the air. So just so we have that out there too. And I just don't see the schedule as being murderous for them. I just don't. So, so we will see. How the Cardinals handle this whole situation, but
I would say the last 6 games are tough.
they do
Tough,
have.
tough.
Yes,
Rams
I
twice,
agree.
Tampa Bay,
I agree.
Houston, Atlanta, and Cincinnati. I think that's a tough stretch.
I
I
agree.
think they'll have to get the majority of their wins in the first 7 weeks of the season if they're going
And
to
the
contend for the playoffs.
and the fact they actually have a cup. They have a really they got a weather game coming up in in December in Cincinnati because
Yeah.
they play at Cincinnati at but for the most part they don't really have a lot of those. That's the biggest thing I look for. West Coast team. That's the first thing I look for is like where the crazy cold weather games.
Yeah.
That's the only one they got.
I think on a side note to that, I think we're about 10 years away from maybe 20 where every NFL team is going to be an indoor team. I'm pretty sure it's coming.
That's so soft.
Bills are going indoor, aren't they? So are the Titans and the Bills are both going indoor, aren't they?
On the Bears and the Bears new place is going to be indoors. I
I'm
think.
not sure. I honestly don't know that. I didn't know they were building a completely new stadium.
I think that because it's all because they want Super Bowls. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all.
Money, 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 money.
That's all it is. And I mean, them being. I mean, give me the retractable thing though. Like, I mean, come on, you gotta want to have the
Trackable
home.
roof is where it's at.
You want to have a home field advantage though. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If you're Buffalo and you get like let's just say the Jaguars are really good one year, and you got a chance to freeze them out of a game. You got to do it. You can't just
Yeah.
you got to keep that thing closed and make it just a make it just a a track meet. No, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. So like I said, I think we can make. I think healthy they can make a jump. I think the last two drafts give them some depth, which I like. So like, especially on the defensive line, it's funny. When I got that spending report where I can see who spent where teams spend their money. It's like a pie chart.
Yeah.
Everybody everybody spends most of their money on what position group you think? Just guess.
For the free agency or
Just team spending, like the graphic I sent you.
well, to me, my first guess would have been quarterback.
It's defensive line.
Oh,
So
for the entirety of the position group?
position
Oh,
group.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Oh,
I'm
okay. Well,
sorry.
that makes total sense then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Everybody does it. I
we're in
mean,
a copycat league, and the Eagles
everybody's
just
trying to
yeah,
100%, 100%.
yeah,
They want depth. They want all those things.
yep.
So yeah, I mean,
They
yeah.
would
So
they
it is
would
what it is.
desperately want to be able to rush four on Patrick Mahomes and dominate him.
Yes, if you can rush four and not that's the whole key to everything, right? You want to rush four and not have to blitz,
Shout out
yeah,
to Dalen Carter.
yes. Well, he's the leader on that team now. I wonder how that happened. I thought he was going to be something else.
He's definitely not a leader because we are strictly told that he's not a leader and
Don't
he's going to
say
mess
it. Don't
up in
say
his
it.
NFL career.
Don't say it.
I,
Don't say it.
we were told strictly that he was going to mess up in his NFL career in the first year, that he would not be on an NFL team.
Yeah.
We were told
Well,
that.
no. And now he's dominating Super Bowls. Yeah, that's what it is. I have changed.
Shout out Tyree Wilson.
We'll get to the next week. Well, next week we're gonna jump. I was going to try to save it, but we're gonna stay in the NFC West and jump to the Niners
Oh,
because
we're gonna do a show about the Niners here. And honestly,
and we have to.
honestly,
but I have changed my view on the Niners. But we'll continue with the Cardinals here.
Yeah.
So I do think if we can I just need more than he had 21 touchdown passes last year and 5 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
He gotta have 30.
Yeah. I think if he can get up to 30 or 35 total touchdowns.
Yes, yeah.
I think he's right around
100%.
29 passing touchdowns and maybe 6 rushing touchdowns. I think they're going to be dangerous to play.
Yes, yeah.
And I think Marvin Harrison's going to play with a bit of a chip on his shoulder as well, because when you come in with that much hype and you not necessarily didn't really tear it up as a rookie, like when you see players like Jettas and Jamar Chase and those guys just absolutely kill it as rookie wide receivers, or even Brian Thomas Jr., like just absolutely kill it, for as a rookie. Mind you, with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback,
Yeah.
who I don't think is as good as Kyler Murray. Um, yeah, you're going to have some things. I think their most important stretch, I think, is this beginning stretch, their first 6 games. Because I think I think Carolina and the Saints are going to be winnable.
Can they be 4-2? Can they be 4-2?
Yeah, I think they can be 4-2.
Yeah.
I really genuinely believe that. So if you could split games with San Francisco and Seattle, if you can do that, there's a real opportunity you can be 4-2. Because I think Tennessee and Indianapolis are going to be winnable games.
Yes, I'm looking at that right now.
I don't have a lot of hope. I don't have a lot of hope for
see.
Cam Ward in year one right now. He's going to be a year away because that Tennessee team is not good.
So 4-2 going into the home game against Green Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which can alter their season, because if they win the game against Green Bay and they're 4-2, it sets them up with a cushion when the schedule starts to get much harder. Because I think, despite what people think about Dallas is always going to be a good team, so they're always going to have a lot of talent if they're healthy. But then you got to go right back to playing Seattle and San Francisco again in back-to-back weeks, which is a little strange for divisional games to have that in the first 4 weeks and then have it again week 10 and 11. That's kind of strange. But then I think
they don't play the Rams forever. They don't play the Rams till week 14.
Yeah, and that's when they can cushion their season there, because when that last stretch comes up, when it's the Rams twice, Houston, Atlanta, the away game that you mentioned in Cincinnati, that's gonna be a tough stretch for Cardinals. Especially that late game, because I don't think there's anybody you want to play in December less than Joe Burrow, because he's just unbelievable in January and December. So.
Yeah, it should be fun. Should be interesting. Are we seeing do they have an international game in here somewhere?
I don't know. Let's find out. Levi, State Farm. Look at the little State Farm. Lumen Field. That's Seattle. Looks like they don't. Looks like what's Paycor Stadium? Is that the Bengals Stadium?
Is that what it's called?
I didn't know it's called Paycor.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like they don't have an international game. So it looks like they're not going to Germany. They're not going to England.
Yeah, it's okay.
They're going to stay put.
Yeah. And their buy is, and it's funny because like I was hearing from a lot of NFL. I'm hearing from a lot of NFL people and shows. They say that teams like later buys. They have a buy in I thought teams NFL teams would like a buy right in the middle, but I guess they like it later in the season. So, but their bye is in week 8 or after the Green Bay game. So,
okay, and
then they have that's a tough stretch right after the bye week, because they go at Dallas and then at Seattle. So
at Dallas, at Seattle, then you got San Francisco coming into town the week after that.
Exactly.
That's a tough 3 games. So if they go 1-2 in those games after going 4-3 or possibly 5-2 in the first 7 games, they're in business for the wild card. Like, they're going to be in business. I think the Niners are going to win that division going away. I really believe that. So I think the Niners and the Rams are the 2 best teams in the division by far. And Seattle is not. They're not shy about what they want to do. They're going to run the football. They're going to protect Sam Darnold. They're going to get the ball to JSN as much as possible. And they're going to try to play physical defense out on the other side with Mike McDonald being the coach. So that team is not going to be a team that you want to look at and be like they're an easy run by any stretch. They're well coached. They know what they want to do on offense and defense. They're good at it, and they have 2 really good young running backs that, if healthy, cause a lot of teams problems. And it's probably why we saw so much investment into the defensive line for the Arizona this year, because they play in a division where all the teams like to be physical up front. All the teams like to run the ball in short yardage and are accepted at it. Kyron Williams is really good. Blake Corum's in LA as well. And, of course, you have the 49ers, who basically invent, new ways to get their running backs the ball every single year. So.
Cool. All right. So that kind of wraps up the Cardinals for us real quick. We got a couple of questions here. James from LA wants to know what it takes. What is it going to take to get his Packers into the Super Bowl this year?
Ooh. I think a wide receiver has to step up and be number 1, clear as day, the guy that Jordan Love can rely on right away. I think Tucker Kraft really stepped up and took the job away from Luke Musgrave last year, so he became a nice safety blanket for Jordan Love. Mm-hmm. But one of these guys in wide receiver, whether that's the rookie Golden, whether that's Jaden Reed, whether if it's Dobbs or Christian Watson or whoever the case may be, one of those guys has to step up and be like, I am the best player in this position group. I'm the man. You're getting me 100 catches this year. You're getting me 1,300 yards. You're getting me 11 touchdowns. I'm your wide receiver to look for in the red zone, number one. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have another good year for them because he's insulated by a good passing game and a good quarterback in Jordan Love. I think the offensive line is set up to protect a little bit better, but I think wide receiver is going to be key because you can't keep flushing in and out like this is your week. Romeo Dobbs to try to get us 7 catches and 110 yards. This is your week, Jaden Reed, to do this. This is your week, Christian Watson, to try to go out there and make a play. I think one guy has to step up and be the primary number one and say, I'm better than all you guys. I'm the man here. Jordan Love's going to find me in these crucial situations, and I'm going to deliver. I think a wide receiver one has to step up and be the guy for the Packers to have a chance.
Cole is wondering, he wants me to talk him into Sam Darnold as the Seahawks quarterback. I can't do that. To be truthful with you,
I could give him my best shot.
Cole, I'm just not. I mean, like I said, listen. Obviously, fight on. He's a Trojan, so I always love him for that. But at the end of the day, as far as the NFL goes, I just don't think that he is. He's a key. He's the number one. He's the number one starter in the league. I think he's a stopgap guy. I think that there is a. I'm not saying that Jalen Milroe is going to take his job week. I do think that I like that pick of Milroe. I feel like of all the quarterbacks in this draft, he has the most. He has the most physical. He has the most physical tools. I think he has a. I think he even has a better arm than Cam Ward. I really do. I really do. But like I said, he's not gonna be in a rush to play. So I think that's the guy who I would look at to see in preseason in OTAs. I watch him more. They do have weapons. You know what I mean? They got Cooper Kupp. They got Scanlon. They also got Jackson
Smith and Jigba. Yeah.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's going to be their number one. Noah Fant will be a guy who I would definitely try to get involved. I mean, he physically looks the part. He reminds me of Jared Cook. He just physically looks the part. But Jared Cook was really more productive.
And they drafted Arroyo, didn't they, in the third round?
They did draft Arroyo in the third round. And I do, so as far as like the running back room goes, I do. This is a talented running back room. This could
Walker
be.
And Charbonnet they're really good, really good.
Yes, and they also drafted Damian Martinez from Miami. Yeah. So this is a team where I think you can. Here's how I look at it: run the football, play action football down the field. And then when teams go zone, look for Jake Bobo and Cooper Kupp to get open, to get open. So, but his accuracy can be waning sometimes, so you have to worry about that. He does get a little happy feet. I thought that Leonard Williams, fight on again. He had a tremendous year last year for them. He was great for them, and
they committed to him. So
they committed
there's
to
no
him.
more. There's no more. Am I going to get traded? Am I going to get the deal? Any of that? He's going to be the best player on your defense.
I mean, Devin Witherspoon is another guy I like a lot.
Yeah.
So you can do that. I would say I'd be worried about the offense. I wouldn't worry about the defense because you have Mike McDonald. I think I would feel a little bit better about this offense now because you do have a guy like Clint Kubiak who is going to just come in and just run that system that we all know very much. As far as quarterback friendly system, run the football or zone running to get those running backs to football. I would say big years from your running backs this year. No question about it. And then you can sustain unlike our team. You can sustain a injury to your starting running back. If the Raiders lose Genty, hey, another running back.
Hello, Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert, who always gets hurt. So that's
34-year-old.
34-year-old. Yes, we gotta love that one too. So that's it. Last one is for Dallas of Mark from the Dallas Cowboy fan wants to know our thoughts about the Cowboys. The Cowboys again are probably one of the most talented teams in football. We just got to see what I think we got to see what Schottenheimer is as a head coach. He's not going to be his. I don't think he's his dad. I mean, but I mean, we'll see what he has as a head coach. I don't know. Further than that, I just don't know. I mean, it's Micah Parsons. I mean, is he gonna be mad he didn't get paid yet? Stuff like that. Like, I mean, those are some factors as well. But they are really, really talented. So,
Yeah,
they play in a really they both play in a really
and
tough,
they draft well,
division as well too. So
and they draft really well every year.
yeah. So I mean,
One thing you can't really like take away from Dallas is that they've been drafting well for like 5, 10 years now.
Jerry's good. I mean, like, listen. I'll give Jerry this. I mean, like, he won't do the one. Jerry is the one thing I'll say to you is, Mark, is this. It must be frustrating because he won't do the one thing that it'll take for his team to take the next step.
Which is hire an elite coach.
To hire a elite coach and get out of his way. He won't
Yeah.
do it. But when you look at a team, and I
They
can
want
say
yes men in Dallas.
exactly, and if you look at a team where you sit there and you say to yourself, one of the most used teams in Madden this year coming up, and the next version of Madden will be the Cowboys because they have Dak Prescott, they have Javonte Williams, they have Jadon Blue, but they also have George Pickens, they also have Jalen Tolbert, they also have CeeDee
Jake
Lamb.
Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson is a really good tight end. They have a decent offensive line. Like, they're gonna be tough there. Like, they're gonna
I
be.
think I think the biggest question mark for this team going into that is why didn't they divert more assets to running back? Even though I think Jaden Blue is going to be a steal, I think that guy's going to be incredibly effective player in the NFL. Maybe not as a rookie, but I don't think there's a lot of leash between him and the starting position of Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. I think Javonte Williams has ability, has skill, but I think injuries have devastated his career up to this point. And when he does get a chance to get in there, he's usually always supplanted by more athletic players with a better burst. And I think that the injuries that he's sustained in that regard have not been great. I thought that they were definitely going to go Amari Hampton or one of the skill position wide receivers. Turns out they wanted to trade for George Pickens. I think if they would have drafted Amari Hampton 12th overall, which I understand might be higher than a little bit higher than you'd want to go on a running back for that regard. I think they would have been in business to have one of the best offenses in football, especially because if they would have traded for George Pickens after that. I think that the running game is going to be once again a little detrimental, and the big question mark is going to be Schottenheimer. But I'm a Dak believer. I know there's a few of us left on the island. I'm still here. I like Dak Prescott. I've always liked him. I like this game. If he has to go on and off a year where he's all pro one year and getting injured the next, fine. That just means that the flip of the coin this year is heads, and he's going to be good again this year for them. He's got all the weapons you need. To be successful and to have a talented offense. But the Schottenheimer thing, it's just not great. It's just not great. And I don't know what the plan is.
Who's the OC there? Who's the OC there?
I think Schottenheimer will call the plays, won't he?
Maybe he'll call the plays. Yeah. I mean, Eberflus did a good job defensively.
It's the one thing he kind of does do well is be a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, so
and
we'll
their team is so stacked from top to bottom every year. But Mike McCarthy is good. He's a Hall of Fame coach, but it's just he could not get it done for whatever reason that they needed to. And maybe Schottenheimer is the magical sauce in this that actually is, overplays his resume to this. Personally, I don't see it. And I think you're kind of wasting Dak and this offense, and you're wasting years with these contracts because I think Dak Prescott is at worst, he's a top 13, 14, 15 quarterback in the NFL. At best, he can be a top 5 quarterback because he's played that way.
Here's something to watch. Right? If things are not going great with Pickens, because I'm pretty sure the Cowboys didn't pay Pickens, right?
They didn't extend him, no.
They
didn't do what DK got.
Is he gonna be? Can he hold it in for a whole season? That's what I'd be worried about. You know what I mean? Because
if you can't play off CeeDee Lamb and that offense, there's some issues with you. You,
C's one of everybody's favorite receivers in the league. Like
yeah,
he's tough as nails.
yeah.
He's a gamer. All those things, makes tough catches.
You got to be able to
Yeah,
play off CeeDee Lamb
yeah,
because that guy will make everything easier for you. He's the
yeah.
third best wide receiver in football, I think, in my opinion. So
Uh,
you gotta make it work.
One last point, I did hear somebody interview Javonte Williams, and he said this is the healthiest he's ever been
Sure.
since all that stuff. So like, I mean, he has not been lucky. But he just got the injury bug like crazy. So we'll see what happens as far as he goes. So, but listen, I mean, they could
Yeah.
I
Look,
they could have had they could have gotten a young
they
a
could have got a
guy
healthier Javante
healthier
Williams and a
in the
Ryan Hampton.
draft in the draft. They could have done it. They could have done
Look,
it.
I'll say this: I watch a lot of MMA. A lot of MMA. I've been an MMA fan for 30 years. I've watched, almost every big fight that there is to watch in MMA for the last 30 years. Anytime a fighter goes into a camp and says, "This is the best I've ever felt," and this fighter's never fought anybody like me, that guy goes in there and gets mollywopped.
Yeah,
So I know that these players have to tell themselves that. I understand that that's what you have to say and all that,
yeah,
but it never bodes well for a guy to be like, "I'm the healthiest I've ever been." Well, sure, you're out there and you're playing, I'm sure, and there's not
yeah,
a nagging injury yet, but we're in May and the season training camp hasn't even really gotten going yet. And you haven't even put the pads on once yet. So
yeah.
it's always going to be a concern with a player who can't stay healthy. And when they say things like that, I wish them the best. I'm a big Javonte Williams fan.
Me
I
too.
like
Me
him a
too.
lot.
Me too. Me
I
too.
like him a lot. I was scared of him in Denver because I knew he was going to be good. When Sean Payton got there, I was even more scared because I thought that this is the perfect type of running back with a skill set. He's got a prove it year, and this could be the James Conner situation where he goes to a team on a low budget deal and plays himself back into the conversation of being a really, really great player for them. So he's set up to do it. They have an outrageous number of hands in that offense with Ferguson and Pickens and Jalen Tolbert and CeeDee Lamb. So they have an outrageous passing game that can pave the way for Javonte Williams to have a good year if he stays healthy. And I hope it happens for him.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see Jadon Blue come into this a lot sooner than later because I think that guy's going to be the better running back in that room when the season ends. So I'm hoping for him to get a lot of play. I hope Javonte Williams stays healthy, but you can't play the percentages against that. So,
of course. All right, we get our trip around the league continues next week in Santa Clara for the Santa Clara Niners. Should be a joyful show.
The Santa Cruz Niners, what are they?
It should be.
We will be no. We will.
She will be.
We both hate the Niners. We hate the Niners, but we will be fair and objective as we are.
All
we
joy.
can be fair, objective with
All
our
joy.
own team. We can be fair and objective with a team that we hate.
Should be joy. Talk about Niners. Niners next week. All right, Solo. Have a good night, brother. Take care.
Take care.
Everybody, go see Mission Impossible. It's incredible. Peace.
Yes, sir. And sinners.
And sinners.